imagine we are in the year 2035, and a lot of us have seen the future, and that is part of the reason why we do what we do. So let's what do we see? It's 2035, a beautiful morning. We are looking out the window that allows us for some time to think, and think about everything that's happened. So what do you see, Ingrid?
Well, there's something that I see that is, and maybe this is a little self-centered, but I'm looking out my window and I see a bus go by, and it's one of those nice, quiet electric buses that we got in 2021. And then I keep looking out, and 10 minutes later, there's another bus that goes by, and they come every 10 minutes. And it's so convenient for me because I can just jump on, and then if I want to get to work, I have to connect to another bus downtown. I live in the town of Ithaca, and that bus goes every 10 minutes. So it's really easy to just take the bus and get to work. Whereas back in 2021, I did have a bus on my street, but it only came once an hour. And I feel bad complaining about that because that's great to have a bus, but it was once an hour, and the bus I'd have to connect to get to work only came once an hour. So it would take me about an hour and a half to take the bus to work back in 2021, where in a distance that I could drive in 10 minutes. Whereas now in 2035, we have all these buses coming really frequently all over town, new routes, and so I don't really need to use a car anymore because it's so convenient and easy to use the bus. And there are these nice, quiet electric buses. Like I said, there's not as many cars on the road. There's more buses, and I just love that. I love the convenience. So I'm happy that happened.
Well, it's 2035, and I'm really amazed at how much Ithaca, Tompkins County, and the Finger Lake region has changed since I moved here in 2020. When I walk around Ithaca, I see a pedestrian-friendly community, lots of bicycles. The architectural shapes of urban density took a radical shift towards organic shapes. Nature is honored in the design. Large buildings have keyholes in them so we can see mountains. Streams are exposed. Formerly covered over streams or daylighted. So we have a very rich, green urban environment. There's farmers markets 7 days a week. And what's happened since 2020 is that 15 years into 2035, we have a culture of sustainability. And people who've moved here who haven't any real sense of green or sustainability automatically just started picking up on the cultural milieu that we've created. We have waste reduction strategies everywhere. We have a zero waste Ithaca. We don't waste anything. We have a ban on plastics. We have top researchers inventing alternatives to plastics that can be fully biodegradable so that actually turns into agricultural mulch as opposed to waste. We've essentially created the next industrial revolution, which is inherently ecological and sustainable, and everybody is living it and breathing it, whether they want to be directly involved with it or not. So it's amazing to see. And probably the most amazing things is that we don't have to prove our progress with graphs and charts and metrics of metric tons anymore. Cornell professors give presentations on sustainability without using graphs and charts to scientifically prove that we've done it, because we're past that. We're doing it. We actually are living a sustainable green lifestyle. And we've done so much here that we're actually net positive energy. We're distributing that energy to outposts in upstate New York, and they're catching the vibe and picking up on it. So we have really created the heartbeat of the upstate New York sustainability movement.
That's a beautiful scene and great vision, I think. I love that. I was thinking, yeah. I was thinking of something specific you said at the beginning about seeing more pedestrians and bicyclists, and I like that thought of like in 2035 that riding my bike around is so much easier because there's more bikeways that are away um, from buses and cars. A lot of streets are bikes only or bikes and pedestrians, and it just feels much safer to bike around than it did back in 2021.
Mhm.
I like that change. That's a change that I think is really good. Um,
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a European city now where you're in an old town center or city center that was designed around people and
mhm,
horse-drawn carriages. So their streets are winding, they're undulating, they're fun to be in. It's almost like we've really created an environment where we can, like fish swim in the water. And
mhm,
we are now realizing that we were disembodied. We were disembodied from the kind of social and cultural matrix that we feel most comfortable in. And um, there's a community free bicycle program, and I like to walk, and then I have to get somewhere a little faster. I just grab a bicycle and I'm there,
mhm.
and it's comfortable, and I feel a little charged up from the exercise,
Yeah.
and I can leave the bike there. And I don't have to worry about it being stolen. Um, and it's fun. It energizes me. I haven't experienced road rage in so long. I don't even remember what it is.
And I think there are kind of ringing the urban center. There are some kind of transit centers or maybe parking areas for people who live more in suburban and rural areas who, like, it would be hard for them to bike into the city, but maybe they could drive in or take the bus in, park their car, and then they could get into the city center through a bus or shuttle or something, just where we'd have a lot fewer cars going around in the center of the city. Or for older people who are too old. My parents right now are in their 80s. My dad used to love to bike, but he's becoming more unsteady. It's a little tough for him to bike. But there are ways for those people to get around, which are much easier. And of course, it's easier for them not to have to drive a car, too.
Well, and it's great to see so many older people in our communities now. They're not um, excluded from urban life just because of their mobility challenges. They're actually able to participate and take walks. And this amazing ultra light rail smart grid that we've created
Hmm.
so that you can get on and go short distances without negatively impacting the area and without there being safety issues. And these areas where people can drive into or just a short ride into the urban centers. And
Hmm.
it's really great. And because there's so many shuttles leading in, fewer people are even needing to drive their cars there because the shuttle system is so efficient. We have this amazing mass transit system. I mean, I lived in London in the late 80s, and I didn't have a car. I didn't need a car. I went everywhere on foot and
Yeah.
bus and light rail and train. And now I'm seeing it in Ithaca. I never thought I would ever see such a transit friendly environment.
Hmm.
And, it's amazing for me to go to San Francisco from Ithaca, all on light rail and then the train, and it's all high speed, electric, and it's fun, it's smooth, it's fast, and I'm completely like traveling now is stress free.
Hmm. Yeah, and looking back, there were jobs, construction jobs, to build that infrastructure that we have now in 2035. Though those were temporary, but there are more jobs now for people to run and maintain all those systems that we built, and that's a good thing too. Mm.
Yeah, and those jobs were so productive that the ratio of efficiency tipped the economic scale so that the average work week is about 25 hours a week now. And people aren't struggling with paying their rent or their mortgages. I mean, there is a much more abundant economic environment that we live in. I mean, we created our own healthcare system that everybody can sign on to. We have food programs for people who can't afford. We've created urban gardens everywhere now, so people are able to grow a lot of their food, and we've created a whole social economic milieu that's part and parcel of the green agenda, so that the socially just agenda went hand in hand with the green. And everybody's so much more relaxed now. People don't walk in a hurry.
Yeah, that's a good change. A very good change.
Yeah, I feel 10 years younger just living here.
What about the connection to, you mentioned it a little bit, but like the connection to other communities, like other more rural communities in Tompkins County, and maybe broader other communities in New York State? Like, are they doing the same thing, or?
Well, what happened is that what we did became contagious. And the outlying communities that were resistant at first, especially little conservative pockets in greater Tompkins County, started picking up on the positive change. And whenever they came into Ithaca, or they got closer and closer, they started to see and feel the positive changes that were taking place here. And we didn't need to convince anybody. We were very politically active. And of course, that meant going into a larger political arena outside of Ithaca proper. But bit by bit, people began to see what was so wonderful here. And then when people's kids realized that this is where all the fun is, and the cool jobs, the jobs of the future, and incredible educational opportunities, they chose to kind of keep it local and move to Ithaca because everybody wanted to be here. And their professional and educational pathways just exploded with growth and creativity. And a lot of the naysayers started to realize, wow, there's really something going on there. So it just radiated, not because we imposed anything on the outlying community, because they wanted to be part of it.
Kind of like your example of living in a different place or visiting a different place and seeing how things are and liking that, thinking that you'd want to live that way too. Yep.
Well, we created a sustainable, pedestrian-friendly transit system that allows people to get into Ithaca easily and get home, and it's not difficult to come here. And then when they went home, they thought, well, why do I have to go to Ithaca for that when we could do this here? So it all interwove. It was one of the most successful sociological transitions we've ever seen in this country, and it's just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm proud of the collective effort that was made. That I think pride is not, an individual pride is not how I relate to it. I'm excited by the fact that I was able to just jump in and not be a fish out of water, but that there was receptivity to who I am and my ideas, and so many people to collaborate with. And that gives me a sense of gratitude and pride that the community as a whole really embraced this agenda. And we worked together. We rolled up our sleeves. We handled tough problems. We persevered. We didn't recoil in frustration over the time it took to get to where we are now. Mm-hmm. And so that took commitment. It took work, and everybody had to get in on the game. And a lot of people made it fun. And that's what I think really got a lot of us on board and kept us on board. So I mean, I'm proud of us, and that's it's just such a great thing. So
well, I agree. I think we're lucky to live in a place where there's a large enough core of people who are active. But I think for me on an individual level, I think I sort of got off my butt and started getting more engaged. I'm engaged, I feel like, in my quiet way, or I was back in 2021. And there were only a few times that I would do things like go to town meetings or city meetings and speak up. But, I talked to people who are on those boards, like, planning boards and so on, and they said that sometimes it just takes a few people. They don't often get that many people coming to their meetings. So if a few people show up, or 10 people show up, or 20 people show up, that's a huge impact. So I started doing that more, and it was a little bit scary at first, or maybe just overcoming that inertia of like, oh, it's whatever, Tuesday evening, I don't want to go to this meeting, I'm tired. But I started doing it more, and it felt good to be engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it made a difference. It feels good to look back and feel like those occasional individual actions made a difference. But collectively, it was me showing up at some meetings together with some other people showing up at those meetings and speaking up.
Who really did start showing up and offering to help.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have to organize and facilitate all the meetings. Other people really wanted to jump in and do it. So it just was wind in our sails.
That makes it a lot easier.